We are doing a full breakdown of every GameStop catalyst we can think of, particularly near-term ones, but we'll be ranking like how near are they? What are the expected timelines of these different catalysts? What are the odds that these different catalysts even take place? And then what are the expected impacts from these catalysts on GameStop stock? That's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to be active in the chat today if you're here for it, because I want to hear from you guys as well. Any impacts, catalysts, odds that I might be missing. I'm not the end-all be-all as it relates to GameStop, but I am a financial advisor, and I do cover this stock quite thoroughly on my channel. So I do appreciate all of you guys for being here. Just so y'all know, this video is not financial advice. Every sub on this channel represents $1 or more that I spend at GameStop. Every dollar this channel earns represents money that I send directly to DRS booked GME shares. I have not personally spent or lived on a single dollar from this channel. So I do appreciate all the support. Thank you guys for being here, etc. And before we get into it, of course, I got to say, hey, and look, we're actually moving. I got this on the year-to-date chart, but on the one day, GME picking up a little bit. Picking up. It's pretty exciting stuff. Aging Wheat Farmer, what is up? J Card, Active Rehab, Sarah Talk, Art G, Zedgy. Active Rehab has 11,400 shares. Congrats on your position. Congrats for your position. Oh, like and subscribe if you want to. Zedgy bought 14K of graded cards from GME. Okay, perfect. Because another announcement, I guess, you know, this quarter, I've been calling this the quarter of destiny, right? Really, July is the month of destiny. We have 5 days left or 6 days left. August 1st is included in GameStop's Q2. And together we are trying to account for $100,000 spent at GameStop, which if we do, we will be 0.1. We will be 0.1 on their revenue. Wouldn't that just be so fun? So on Friday, I will live stream leading into market close. By the way, I look at the stock continuing to tick up a little bit. Kind of fun. I know we're still at very deep lows, but hey, you'll take a green day when you can get one. Friday will be the, hey, let's hop on live and all kind of represent. And if you're not there live, drop it in the comments. I will be creating a expanded portion of my spreadsheet where basically here's what I've spent. I'll just kind of add another series of columns over here where your handle can report, hey, here's how much you've spent at GameStop. We'll total it all together. We'll budget for life. Crew can spend 100 grand at GameStop in Q2. The cherry on top in the month of destiny, in the quarter of destiny. And I think this quarter of destiny will be verified as we break down these catalysts together, because it does seem to me that there are quite a many of them. To get started here, let's maybe make a new tab called Catalysts, and we are just gonna start it fresh. So that we can be discussing together basically like timeline, odds, impact, and discuss, as well as the evidence, right? What do we have to suggest all of the above? Really, you'd want evidence for the timeline, evidence for the odds, and evidence for the impact, something like that. We'll continue to iterate how do we illustrate this. But to give you an idea of kind of where we're going in this live stream, this is kind of what we're thinking about. I'll blow it up a little bit so that you guys can actually participate. But it's kind of hard to turn away from the stock because it's just a little bit fun to look at right now. How are we doing, by the way, guys? I am back from my travels. I'm here working normal days like a normal man, and I'm excited to share some time with y'all. Ashton Kutcher, what's good? Active Rehab expecting profits of 450 to 550 million in Q2 alone. Hey, Donna Bell said, just telling myself this morning, figure out the next news to push the stock up. Exciting, exciting. So Q2, something that, well, on my channel, okay, what is the video that I'm referencing? Here we go. What you're not seeing about GameStop's eBay position. It covers quite thoroughly the transition from, what's the first one called? Not equity accounting, but like asset accounting. I don't even remember at this point. Geez. Power packs accounting, right? What's it called? I'm so annoyed that I literally forgot. The transition, though, goes from power packs accounting to equity accounting. Okay, there you go. Fair value. Fair value accounting to equity accounting to eventually consolidation accounting, whether eBay's bought outright or just 51% is purchased. Hey, Zedgy has 19,000 warrants. Oh, no, you don't. Garcon does. 6,000 shares and 19,000 warrants. Way to go. That transition, right? The fair value accounting, I think GameStop will do again for Q2. I think that will maximize this number. But I think Q3 and beyond, they will transition their eBay position from fair value accounting to equity accounting. We're not going to get into estimating that in this video, but one of the catalysts for sure is essentially Q2 earnings. Maybe let's add a little bit of something right here. Q2 earnings as one of the catalysts that we're thinking about. What do I mean by this? I basically just mean the lowering PE ratio, right? The increasingly attractive implied enterprise value as net cash continues to grow and as trailing 12-month operating income continues to grow. So we're not estimating it in this video, but one of the catalysts that we're talking about is, hey, this net cash number will be higher than what it was. Now, net cash at this point, like for me, I'm really just talking about liquid assets, cash and securities. So technically their actual cash will be lower because they have deployed $5 billion of cash into eBay. But eBay is a security that they could sell, right? They probably won't sell it, but for the sake of argument, we're going to separate out eBay's market cap from legacy GameStop's market cap, and we're going to say that eBay is worth the current trading value of eBay, right? So we're going to take the current trading value of eBay, GameStop's current value position, as well as their cash, as well as their Bitcoin. We're going to net all of that out, and it will be a higher number than it was at the end of Q1, which leaves us with implied enterprise value, which as of right now at 2151, GameStop's trading even lower than it was at the end of Q1. So not only is cash rising, but also the market cap is shrinking. Rising cash means lower implied enterprise value, all other factors even. Declining market cap also means lower implied enterprise value, all other factors even. So both of those things lower this number, which is basically how we're valuing GameStop. And then trailing 12-month operating income will be higher than it was in Q1. Now this number, right, this net income number to active rehab's point could be huge. Like the actual net income number could be huge. There is a huge eBay position that's basically 10% profit. If they log their eBay position as fair value accounting, well, they have $5 billion worth of eBay, $5 billion worth, but their total cost is around, people have estimated around $101 a share. Well, if eBay's trading at the end of Q2, like we'll see at the Friday market close, eBay's market price. But if that $5 billion position is 10% up, well, guess what? That's $500 million. 10% of 5 billion is 500 million. So right there, Q2 set to explode. Set to explode. For the sake of their public-facing PE, that number does matter. Like their public-facing PE comes down based on their earnings. And their earnings includes their interest income. For my truer representation of PE, I am netting out all of the interest earnings. So all the Bitcoin gains, that basically just impacts the cash value as far as I'm concerned. And I'm looking at operating income. But I mean, they might have $500 million of profit just from eBay. Now, some of that will be lowered by Bitcoin actually, but then they still have a huge cash interest that they earned from the majority of Q2. Right, some of that cash has now been spent. So their cash interest income in Q3 will be lower. And I do think they will move their eBay position into equity accounting, which means they will start taking 10% of eBay's earnings and reporting that as other income. Unless they've already bought eBay by then, right? Anyways, the odds that their operating income increases is pretty high. Last Q2, they did 66 million in operating income. They just did 143 million in operating income in Q1. That's crazy. That is so crazy. I honestly forgot the number was even that high. And I'm just like delighted. I'm delighted all over again. That's crazy. What's up? What's up? So the odds that this operating income is higher is substantial. And of course, the net income number will certainly be higher due to eBay. How much higher? TBD. I just roughly said, hey, I bet it's at least $90 million higher, which would literally just put it even with Q1. If they do a $90 million operating income improvement, all that is even with Q1. I mean, that's crazy. It's probably going to be better than that. But what happens then? Well, either the price goes up, the PE comes down. But I'm not sure if the PE can continue to compress. Like we might actually begin to see expansion on GameStop's stock price related to the rising operating income of GameStop. Imagine that, right? The company improving its fundamentals might actually start improving the company's market cap. I mean, imagine that. It's just I can't even imagine. I don't even believe that, right? Q2 earnings raising trailing 12-month operating income. Okay, don't be doing that on me. What is the timeline? Let's go ahead and unbold all of these here. Nope. September 2026. Evidence of the time. Okay, this is a little bit, this is maybe getting a little bit redundant. The odds that operating income rises next to 100%. We'll just put this approximate, but like it's going higher, right? Evidence, see projections. The impact. What will the impact be on GameStop stock? By itself, hypothetically, GameStop's operating income grows by 20%. So hypothetically, if this is the PE floor, then the value of GameStop goes up, the fundamental value of GameStop from a trailing 12-month PE basis goes up 20%. %, upside. Super simple. Does that mean it will be? It doesn't mean literally, but again, we're trying to get a visualization on the catalysts coming up for GameStop. And very plainly, the trailing 12-month income is going to go up by about 20% plus. So that, like, for anyone that uses that as a valuation metric, which a lot of people do, that means GameStop becomes 20% more valuable. It's super simple. Unless you were to say, oh, all that growth is already priced in. But we know that all that growth is not priced in. Growth priced in does not equal single-digit PEs. So basically, it's like either the stock goes up 20% or the spring gets compressed even tighter. Either the stock goes up or the spring gets compressed. If the spring gets compressed, then basically you're just setting up for an even more explosive stock appreciation, right? It's not like, oh, they succeeded. It's only going up 20%. It's like, no, this is either it happens now or you suppress the stock, kick the can, and then it's going to happen even more violently later, which I speculate they've already been doing so, right? The spring is already pretty tight. It's already pretty undervalued, in my opinion. SC says 20% only. I'm not saying, again, we're not done, okay? This is going to be a list. I'm saying this catalyst in isolation justifies at least a 20% increase in GameStop stock in September. This catalyst in isolation. I'm not saying that once GameStop goes up 20%, that then it's fairly valued. That's not what I'm saying. What else are we looking at? We're looking at, what if I wonder if I can like, oh no. Okay, great. That'll work. Power packs, materiality. Booyah. What's up, Adam? Great to see you, by the way. Power packs, materiality. When is this going to happen? In all likelihood, September of 2026. Why do I say that? Well, the last time that I estimated or updated Power Packs estimates, which was a week ago, Power Packs had already accounted for conservatively $93 million, or sorry, yeah, $93 million. GameStop would have to do over $1 billion in Q2 to avoid materiality. And historically, Q2 is lower than Q1. Not to mention, GameStop closed 132 stores in Q1. 132 US stores closed in Q1. So that's already, 5% of their store count that's gone. But even without store closures, Q2 is lower than Q1 in GameStop's revenue every year of the past of Cohen's era, except for the Switch 2 launch. But there's no Switch 2 launch. So probably Q2 total income is going to be like 850 or something like that. I'm not actually modeling that right now, but I'm saying the odds that Q2 income is, 1.1 billion to me is like, no way, right? No way. But the evidence, see, power packs, what are the odds? I would say like 90%. Like it's the best odds we've seen yet. And things started to look pretty like we were going to see materiality a couple times already. But this is meaningfully higher odds than any of the previous quarters. Oh, this is a C power pack for the odds. No need to no need for evidence on the timeline. It either will or won't happen in September. If it doesn't, then this gets changed to December. Not a big deal. What is the impact? Well, the impact is based on 500-ish million shares in the float. The impact is basically $1 to $4 a share, right? About $1 to $4 per share. Maybe I could express this all in dollars per share terms, so then we can add it up. Dan says, thanks for covering this, Budget for Life. Thank you, Dan. Oh, geez. Adam said, posted to Reddit, beware of the trolls. Thanks, Adam. So if Q2 happens and there is no expansion to the PE stays around 9, then what? Well, 9.38. Oh, never mind. Let's do that here. 9.38 gives you about $2 a share. There you go. If this is the number. Now, probably this net cash is even higher. Actually, almost definitely it is because of their eBay realization. But we'll just leave it there for now. We'll stay conservative. Probably it's even higher, but Q2 alone on the fundamental operating income is probably about $2 per share in value. Could be more. Maybe we'll put the plus sign over there. See valuation. Booyah. Y'all tracking with me so far? We're going to keep knocking these out. Zachary Meek says, what if GameStop adjusts the warrant exercise ratio to 7 shares for 1 warrant, all cash, no stock, eBay buyout? That's fun. I mean, most people will, like, you're just talking about the exercising of warrants. So it's not like That is I mean, it's a good question. It's a little bit of a detraction from the general conversation. But to answer the question, like, it's not really that big a deal. Like, the warrants have already been distributed. It's not like people are going to get more warrants now. SC says I'm holding on to my warrants. I'm still holding on to mine as well. And I've got probably close to 20,000 of them myself. What's up, Peter? Now, the exercise ratio is like, hey, if you want to use some of your warrants to exercise the rest of your warrants, then here is the warrant exercise ratio. Well, let's say that GameStop doesn't change the exercise ratio. What happens then? Then you just sell some of your warrants and then use that money to exercise the rest of the warrants. You know, like you still have the opportunity to get market value for your warrants, regardless of whether GameStop updates the warrant ratio or not. Mr. London and Ashton Kutcher are down 50% on their warrants. I probably am as well, although I keep buying more, so my cost basis is coming down. Other catalysts. In my most recent video, not that one, the Japan carry trade. This one is quite interesting because USD JPY is still very, very high. If you haven't watched this video, you should watch it. It's quite informative, if I do say so myself. But the short of it is that 4 times USD, like 4 times in the Cohen era, USD JPY has approached or breached 160 plus. The past 3 times, GameStop rallied. That's basically the short of it. And this is the 4th time. Generally, GameStop's rally occurs whenever Japan takes action in one way or another, basically selling US treasuries, buying the yen. They could also raise rates dramatically. Whenever Japan takes action to get this number lower, aka to increase the value of the yen and or try to decrease the value of the dollar, that is the catalyst or the associated event with GME rallying. Again, this has happened 4 times. The past 3, GME has rallied. Will it happen again? To be determined, because Japan has not taken action yet. But they are basically increasingly covertly threatening dramatic action. So is there correlation or causation? To be determined? But we will just call this Japan carry trade. Timeline. When will they take action? Again, historically, they do it at 160. It's already at 163. So when will Japan take action? Literally any day now. Evidence, historical, and political context. See this video. We'll just put it in there. There you go. What are the odds that Japan does something to try to increase the value of the yen? Again, the odds that they do something at some point are very high. I mean, like 95, like it's all like there's no way this will continue to go up and up and up without Japan taking action. What could happen is this number starts to rectify itself without Japan taking action. So I guess if you include that into the odds, then maybe you're saying like 80%. like there's a 20% chance that this fixes itself. That's fine. That's fine. The evidence that the odds are 80%. Geez. Basically, the historical trend. I mean, it's basically historical and political. I mean, it's just this. It's just that. Let's remove the link because it's the same video. They've done it every time. And if you understand the Japanese economy, you know that the inflationary pressures are not slowing down. So the odds that it will fix itself, pretty low. Pretty low. What is the impact? See, this is kind of crazy. Like if Japan takes massive action to try to fix this number, what's the impact on GME? Well, it's happened 3 times so far. In April, May, June, July of 2024, GameStop tripled. And in after hours, like at some points, they got even as high as like an 8x on this run. In December, January, it was a 55% move. This May 25 event on GameStop was not associated with USD/JPY, but this bump from 22 up to after hours hit almost 29. That's a what? 25% bump? Now here's the thing. If Japan, like, what am I trying to say? In April, May of this year, which again happened to coincide with another GameStop rally, Japan did take action, and yet their inflationary pressures have not stopped. So if they take action again, which I'm saying there's an 80% chance that they do, they will take an even bigger action. Again, watch this video if you haven't, but all signs are that they want to surprise to the dramatic. They want to create a bigger movement, right? They want to do something even more extreme than what they've done. So the odds that the impact on GME is more modest is lower. It's the bigger of an action they take, the stronger of an impact we might see on GameStop stock. So the impact could be quite high. However, fundamentally, intrinsically, should the yen directly correlate to GameStop stock increasing, it shouldn't matter hypothetically, but it has mattered historically. So again, maybe you lower the odds here to account for, again, 20% chance that 20% yen fixes itself. And we'll say 20% unrelated to GME. So we'll say the odds are 60%. That's probably a little bit better representation. But the impact, what is the impact on a 30, 40% move on GME? Well, 10% basically is $2, right? A little bit less than $2. Or, sorry, $2 would be a little bit less than 10%. So you're talking probably like $6 plus a share, like a 25%. 25% is the lowest of a rally we've seen. So basically 6 to what? 15 plus? I mean, what do we even, or do we just say 6 plus per share? Like this could be actually quite violent. Evidence. Again, it's just what's happened previously. Japan carry trade. This chronologically happens first. Probably we see a move from Japan before we see Q2 numbers. But we'll see. So that's what we got so far. 3 major catalysts that all happen to be in the next 2 months. Not a bad start. How are we doing so far? You guys following along? Let's talk about some other catalysts. We've got GameStop's $2 billion share buyback. Timeline here. Okay. A little bit more of a question mark. Thanks, Peter. Peter says, don't chew my ice. It's little tiny ice dubers, though. It's little tiny ice dubers. It's not like real ice. It's little baby ice. Probably the share buyback coincides with like pre-post eBay pricing. All right, all y'all, geez. All y'all need to start wrapping your text, okay? Brian says timeline on the buyback can't be long because price will never be lower. Orion says smash the like button, you peasants. This share buyback, you got to think GameStop is incentivized to do this soon. Soon. Why soon? On one hand, you have eBay pricing. On another hand, you have warrants October expiry. On another hand, you have GME trading near trading low. We'll just say trading low. Right? 3 compelling reasons. Any one of them individually is a great reason to go ahead and deploy some money into your stock. We'll just say August to October of 2026. What are the odds that they buy back shares in this window? Again, it's possible that they don't need to. For example, let's say the eBay acquisition actually goes through. If eBay goes through and the share buyback is designed to protect the stock post acquisition, maybe the buyback's not designed to pump the stock leading into eBay acquisition pricing. Maybe the buyback is designed to protect the stock from a short attack post eBay acquisition. So you acquire eBay and then you buy back a ton of your own stock, basically cementing that the eBay acquisition will create a rally on the stock rather than risking short sellers getting ahead of the narrative, talking about, oh, all the debt that's taken on, all this risk, etc. You basically buy post-acquisition rather than pre-acquisition. Post support, post eBay acquisition. I guess I should be consistent with the E and the Bay. All of these could happen within October. Now, support post eBay acquisition could be longer than that. So maybe I'll like add 2 timelines here. There's another that's post eBay acquisition, or which could be basically, you know, September through, let's say, June. Something like this. What are the odds, right? The odds that it happens August to October, and then the odds that if it doesn't happen August to October, that it happens post eBay acquisition. It's a good question. I'd say the final odds are that like I would say like 10% chance that they don't use them. Other than that, we want to allocate these odds. So we have 90% left to go with. In light of the warrants and the fact that the eBay acquisition could still happen within August to October, I would say like 70% chance that it's happening sooner, or that leaves 20% that it's happening later. And what's the impact? If they buy back 2 billion in shares, well, they're at 21 a share. I mean, they're not going to average 21 a share on their pricing in all likelihood. But let's just say 2 billion. Is that 2 billion? There's 2 billion. Let's just say they average 25 a share. That's 80 million shares that are gone. 80 million shares divided by, let's just say 450 million shares total. But let's go ahead and price in the convertibles and the warrants just to be extra conservative. And let's say there's 651 million shares gone. We are talking about 12% of the float. Which, if you were to take the current stock price times 12%. Or let's go ahead and keep it on the $25 threshold. And you are talking about something like $3 per share. $3 per share associated with the buyback. Of course, it could be more than that. Any of these could be more because all of them or any of them could trigger technicals, which will just technicals explosion. We'll save that. We're coming there. The $2 billion share buyback, you're talking about a $3 per share potential increase fundamentally, right? Like these, you can disagree plus or minus. Like, oh, who's to say they're going to get $25 per share? What if they only get 28 on average? Well, right now it's at 21. So I'm trying to already be conservative. There is no way to argue. Like if GameStop reduces its share count, EPS will rise. The value of the shares per share will rise. Like it's just very simply supply and demand. It is a catalyst. The only debate is just how much of a catalyst, and it could be much more of a catalyst than this. I'm being quite nice. I'm being quite nice. It's a great question, Zedgy. Zedgy says, is one of the catalysts Roaring Kitty? Roaring Kitty comeback. This one, let's get to soon as well. Other obvious catalysts. eBay acquired. Another catalyst, warrants in the money. Let's talk about eBay acquisition. What's the timeline here? September to June. What is the evidence for this? Basically, Cohen interviews. If I could spell interviews, geez. If you followed on my channel or if you followed the interviews outside of my channel, Cohen was asked on Bloomberg, like, hey, basically what's the timeline? Their next annual meeting is in June. Oh, and in the Financial Times, yeah, that's the video. We really dug into it. This Financial Times video, we dug in a lot about the timeline of the eBay purchase. Let's go ahead and link that one here too as well. But timeline-wise, Cohen seems to indicate that sooner greater than later. And I'll leave it at that. What are the odds that eBay is acquired, first of all? And what are the odds that eBay is able to be acquired within these next 11 months? Well, let's leave this caveat to say, hey, if they at least acquire 51%, then we will consider that a satisfactory acquisition, because at that point they can use consolidation accounting and all of eBay's numbers will be reported and included within GameStop's numbers. So the odds that they either own eBay outright or purchase greater than 50% of eBay. Well, again, in a recent Cohen interview, Cohen said that there's a lot of interested parties. There's a lot of people coming to the table. He also said we're coming for eBay no matter what, right? This, as far as the likelihood that an eBay deal happens, I feel like his interview with Bloomberg was very compelling in offering some pretty substantive reassurances that eBay will be purchased. Now, again, they could change their mind. And I talked about on my channel, like, hey, what if, like, way back when, what if it's the Kansas City Shuffle, which is not one of my shorts. Somewhere earlier this year. There you go. Could eBay be a setup for the Kansas City Shuffle? So that's still totally in play, right? They've left themselves that option. I don't think that's likely. But let me add this interview reaction as another indicator. And let's say there is a 10% chance eBay, basically they sell their eBay position. Let me be more clear. 10% eBay is a KC Shuffle. And let's say there is a, I don't know, another 15% chance they fail to acquire eBay. And again, they could fail to acquire eBay outright, but that's not really what I'm concerned about. Like, as long as they can get half cash, it doesn't really matter if eBay agrees to the half stock. And the way that Cohen described the level of financing available to him, I don't think GameStop's going to have a hard time with the half cash. And if they have half cash, if they own 50% of eBay, they don't need to acquire the other 50%. So I'm saying, like, there's really honestly, I don't even think it's 15. I think it's about an 80% chance that over the next 11 months, they have either acquired eBay outright or purchased half of eBay with cash and basically punted a few years on the total takeover and decided to just run it effectively via the board. Now, what's the impact? Well, obviously, the impact, we've talked about this several times, but the impact on GME, if eBay is acquired, matters substantially two things. What is the combined company worth and how many shares are in existence? Right? Those are the two big factors. Based on $22 a share pricing, which I think is probably what's going to happen. And let's go ahead and include the dilutive effects of the warrants and convertibles. Like, let's just go ahead and price those in now and say that, hey, GME already has 651 in the float. How do you value the combined company? If legacy GameStop is worth 10, legacy eBay is worth 50. Again, those are very middle of the pack, very just conservative numbers. You price in all of the dilution from convertibles and from warrants. You assume pricing happens at $22 a share, which is not an aggressive estimate at all. You end up with, voila, $13 a share. $13 a share of fundamental value. Obviously, this is also plus, and obviously, this is also plus. Why? See projections. $13 a share. Right there. Kawami. Now, what's associated with eBay? Y'all know what it is. S&P 500 inclusion. S&P 500 inclusion, baby. Oh, some Grady makes a great point. eBay may try to, well, I don't think eBay's going to try to acquire GME. But he's asking me what, well, I'll start. I don't want to get too rabbit trailed into that. That is possible. It is possible. Could eBay try to buy GameStop? Sure, but GameStop would not agree to be purchased. And honestly, eBay shareholders would probably not agree to the buyout offer either. Like, eBay trying to acquire GameStop would be the equivalent of eBay management agreeing that Cohen is right. Like this, that would be them waving the white flag. And if they do that, then an eBay shareholder would say, well, why, if Cohen's idea is right, wouldn't Cohen be the best guy to execute it? But could it be a catalyst if they try to buy up shares of GME and, buy them out instead? Yes, that could be a catalyst. We'll try not to get too speculative on our catalyst list, but I could put that on here. I would just, the odds I would say is like 5%. I'm trying to keep things here that are very likely to happen rather than making this a purely like speculative list. S&P 500 inclusion is an interesting one. I'm pretty sure if GameStop did a reverse merger into eBay, like if those were the actual terms to where the ticker is now eBay, but it's GameStop is the owner, I'm pretty sure they're included day one. Now, if there's a new holding company, it might get reevaluated. I wonder if Google has a quick thought. If GameStop buys eBay, are they included in the S&P? What do you think, Gemini? So general thoughts are that it's, great. This isn't really that informative, but just reiterates what I just said. Basically, if GME is the surviving ticker, then maybe it is delayed by a year. But if this is in GameStop's best interest, why not just make eBay the ticker? Right? And by the way, if eBay is the ticker, does that also force shorts to close on GME? Which adds another catalyst. New ticker, force close of shorts, right? It just gets kind of crazy. Gemini, are you going to help me? What if they do a reverse merger and eBay is the surviving ticker? There you go. See how that language changed? Would not automatically be kicked out. That means they would be in. S&P 500 inclusion in the bag if they want it to be. The only reason it wouldn't be is if they didn't want it to be. If they didn't want it to be, it'd be because they just want that as another catalyst for down the road, which the only reason they would be comfortable kicking catalysts down the road is if this stock has already meaningfully appreciated, right? S&P 500, I guess we could say like, or basically longer than that. I don't know, like, just go ahead and call it April, like April 2027 to April of 2028. So the first odds are basically eBay's the surviving ticker. Second odds are, well, what if GameStop or Teddy, or there's a different surviving ticker that is the new company that then needs to be evaluated for whether it will be in the S&P 500. Google it. There's your evidence. The odds that they are included in the S&P 500 sooner or later, and like within one of these windows, is like a guarantee. It's investment grade. It's a massive market cap. Like there's just, I mean, we'll just call it 95, because what if corruption is just like crazy somehow, you know, like, but at a certain point it becomes an inevitability. 5% corruption keeps Cohen out forever, right? What is the impact if they are included in the S&P 500? It's about a 20% bump, right? Like, or is it more like 10%? Just on average. Let's forget about short interest. Like, how much do stocks go up on average when included in the SPY? Average short-term gain of a very modest effect. Okay, what if they have high short? Well, let's just say like 15% short interest and a $60 billion market cap. Does that change anything in your opinion, Gemini? Ha, that's funny. If a stock with a $60 billion market cap and 15% short interest is included in a major index like the S&P 500, the standard index inclusion bump is completely overwritten by a highly volatile short squeeze. That's awesome. Squeeze peak 15 to 40%. There you go. Between the initial announcement date and the actual inclusion night. So, and that's just assuming 15%, which is like the actual like reported short interest, right? So, but let's just stay conservative, and let's say it could be $1 per share. Could be just a 5% or 4%, something super modest. It could be as high as 40%, which is something like that $8 plus per share. I guess I should add this context. S&P 500. This can only happen, well, this only will happen post eBay acquisition. But if eBay acquisition happens, S&P 500 inclusion happens. So maybe we should add like a separate, this is like conditional on eBay. So let's, I don't know, make it yellow or something. This is getting exciting. I'm gonna put this inside of, well, let's talk about the warrants next. The warrants do expire October 2026. Or let's say there's possible they do extend it a year. I don't think if they have to extend it, I don't think they're going to get too cute on like exactly how soon they're going to try to thread the needle. What is up, guys? I'm enjoying y'all. Happy Monday. 222 y'all in here. It's pretty fun. So what is the evidence? There's no evidence needed as far as the timing of the warrants. Let's go ahead and freeze this. Let's just say August. Now, what are the odds that the warrants are in the money? On either one of these timelines, this is pretty interesting because these timelines, just based on the numbers, to say, oh, it's obviously a guarantee that GameStop's going to be 50% higher within the next 1 year. Like that's, it deserves to be, right? The fundamental value says that it should be already, even in a worst case scenario. But it's not right now. So why would we think that it will begin to be at least closer to more fairly valued in the next 3 months to 15 months? Well, on one thing we can look at is all these other catalysts, right? We can see these other catalysts and say, hey, there's some dollars per share that seem like they might happen. You know what I mean? The other thing you can look at is Ryan Cohen's interview, which is the same one as this one. Maybe I'll just link it down here instead. Where Ryan Cohen says, hey, if you have followed me into an investment, you have done really well. Right? That's like important, substantial, relevant. What are the odds that they expire worthless? Very low. So what are the odds that 32 happens within the next 1 to 2 years? In light of Cohen's comment and all these other catalysts, I would say pretty high. I'd say something more likely than the eBay acquisition, or maybe similar. Maybe similar odds to the eBay acquisition. Obviously, if the eBay acquisition happens, then the warrants are basically 100%. 100% chance that the warrants are in the money if eBay's acquired. If eBay's not acquired, you still have that 20% chance eBay is not acquired. They still have all these other catalysts. you know, like, and then you also have Q3 earnings, Q4 earnings, Q1 of next year, you know, like I just think there's basically a 50% chance that even if eBay fails to be acquired, that the warrants are still in the money. What is the impact to GameStop if the warrants are in the money? Well, they basically print $2 billion. Right? There's also some dilution that happens. But they get to sell shares at $32 a share. The new float becomes $651 basically. But they have $2 billion coming into the mix. $2 billion in cash divided by a new float of $650. It's basically $3 a share worth of cash. Super simple. Not talking about the technicals, but just the actual cash provided by the warrants. Literally about $3 a share. $3 per new share. Right? $3 per 651 shares. Which, on a related note, what if the convertibles are in the money? This would really happen before the warrants would be in the money, hypothetically. So I guess we'll just put it on the same time frame and with the same odds. Here, let's say zero, basically guaranteed. What do I say? 100% if eBay is acquired, which has 80% odds. 50% if eBay falls through, leaving 10% remaining. Boom. And let's take this Bloomberg interview and let's put it right there. Convertibles. Effectively same odds as warrants. What are the odds, or what's the impact on GME if the convertibles are in the money? Well, conservatively, that's $4.2 billion in cash that some people might be writing off. Like I do in this conservative projections, I net out their convertible cash. I pretend like it doesn't exist. So what happens if the convertibles convert? $4.2 billion is added to their cash floor. $4.2 billion in cash against 150 million shares of incremental increase. That 4.2 divided by 600 is schnikes. $7 a share. $7 a share. We'll just say 2 billion in cash over 651 million shares. This is 4.2 billion in cash over 591 million shares. Dang. No wonder they're fighting the 28 threshold so hard. Am I right? Frosty says, hey, Jeremy, enjoying the content as always. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks, Frosty. Adam says, this made my Monday. Riz says, do you share this spreadsheet for others to access? I do with friends of the channel, but it is a paid status. So I try to make it worth your while, not just through channel clout and fun, but as a genuine tool to support your position, your investment decision making. Depending on your position size, it might be worth making that investment. And of course, I'm turning around and using all those dollars to buy GME shares and DRS booking them. So you're still doing some good for the company, doing some good for the channel, helping the reach, helping the public become more aware, and helping yourself better manage your position potentially, but it is not freely accessible. Garcon says, have I tried to reach out to RC for an interview? I have reached out a couple times, have not heard anything back yet. But it's got to be inevitable, right, guys? I mean, right, Cohen? I'm sure you're watching this. I'm sure you've already made it an hour, 16 minutes into the live, Ryan. Turns out I just want that to be gray like the rest of them. Garcon says, inevitable. Inevitable. Okay. We got warrants, convertibles, S&P. S&P's in the bag if eBay's acquired. Convertibles and warrants, basically in the bag sooner or later. The question is really just when. eBay acquisition, $2 billion share buyback, PowerPack's materiality, Q2 earnings. We could also add to this Q3 earnings, Q4 earnings, which I really probably could, like, very quickly just say Q3, which happens in December, Q4, which happens in March. Well, that's when it's reported anyways. What are we expecting as far as operating income increasing? Again, for Q3 and 4, last year they did 41 and 135. And again, in Q1, they just did 143. What's happening this Q4? GTA 6 release. We also have a Pokemon Lego launch happening in Q3. We also have the 25th anniversary or 30th anniversary of Pokemon. 30th happening in Q3. So yeah, Q3 and Q4 are definitely going to be higher than Q3 and Q4 of last year, which means we will see operating income improvement. SG&A will also be down again because, again, some of this SG&A was spent on the one-time costs of closing stores. You have to spend money to close a store. That's money they don't have to spend again, on top of the fact that they don't have to continue operating those stores, which obviously lowers your store-related SG&A. And during these store closures, they still had to operate those stores up and until their closure, which is an additional incremental SG&A savings. So SG&A is going to be lower. Margins are going up like bonanzas, right? More and more of their sales are coming from collectibles. And of course, you have these huge catalysts, particularly GTA 6. A lot of y'all have talked about in the comments how, hey, GTA 6 is also going to force people to upgrade to the newest consoles that have been delaying that for a long time. The console prices also recently just increased, I think. So basically, yes, they are going to continue to be higher by, let's just say, 100-ish million dollars. Let's just do that for simplicity's sake. because that basically keeps these as additional $2 a share impacts. December, chronologically, we will put that, oh no, right over here, December 2026, and then March 2027. We'll go ahead and put wherever my hand can bring it to. Jeez, don't do that. Okay, new ticker, forced close of shorts. Let's just ask again, let's do another quick Google real quick. Like, does this even necessarily matter? Like, if a highly shorted stock changes its ticker, does that force shorts to close? I'm guessing Google would say no. They can just open new shorts, roll them into, yeah, they just transfer to the new ticker. So for now, we will basically just leave this as speculation and take it out of our catalysts. Let's talk about Teddy real quick. Let's talk about Teddy. And really what I mean by Teddy is DK Butterfly. DK Butterfly. AKA BBBYQ re-emergence and merge into Jimmy. Now the timeline here. If this happens, when would it happen? Okay, we'll talk about the odds here in a second. If this happens, when would it happen? I did ask Google earlier this question, which we'll see if it says the same thing again. Like, when do you, oh, here you go. When do you expect this case to end? Oh, great. Yeah, Google didn't want to comment on it. And I think ChatGPT is the one that gave me an answer. And it's maybe not wanting to show you guys an answer. Here you go. So this was the entire conversation. I was just like, hey, when do you think this court date's going to end? Right? Because that's what would have to happen, right? Google said, or sorry, Chat GPT said, stupid intelligences, said, my estimate is the wind down will likely happen between late 2026 and 2027. Here's why they think that. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, guys. It's not going to go on forever. Like, it's gonna finish eventually, right? We're 4 years into it. And they said, hey, just because the bankruptcy closes doesn't mean old shareholders will recover. But this last sentence I thought was very interesting as well. If what you mean is when would we know whether former BBBYQ shareholders would receive anything, that's a different question. And the answer could be materially earlier than the bankruptcy case closing. So on my channel, I think it was definitely one of these live streams. I think it was in this one right here. Let the GameStop begin. I talked about 5 catalysts on the horizon for GME. And who knows when exactly in this video I did so. But I'll just go ahead and link it somewhere. I'll just put it there. But the timeline for the reemergence is not as important as the timeline for when would shareholders know that a reemergence is happening. And this ties in the new ticker, does that force shorts to close conversation? Because if BBBYQ reemerges, all of those former shorts that are seller boxed become live and active again. And if Ryan Cohen merges that shell into GME, then that is short interest that is added to GameStop's short interest. So it's not that BBBYQ getting a new ticker forces shorts to close, but it's shorts that have been off balance sheet now coming on balance sheet. That could force some shorts to close, right? And total net short exposure to GME reaching above certain critical thresholds, that could also force some shorts to close, right? That's kind of the general idea. And when that happens would be when people know that it's going to happen, not necessarily when it literally happens. It'd be a buy the rumor, sell the news, right? Once you know it's coming, GME would start to rally. When will we find this out? Basically, probably September of, I mean, it could technically be August, but I mean, sure, why not? I don't think it'll be August though. I'm gonna just put September to, let's just say, when's the latest that we would know? I mean, pretty much December, right? Materially earlier than the actual case finally being finished. Let's just call it October 2027 to keep it round with our others. Evidence that this is the timeline. Chat it, GPT it. I mean, we could just like bankruptcy court proceedings. Another tangential piece of evidence related to this potential timeline. Like Purple G's asked me if I'm familiar with the Jake 2B video series and describe the affiliates. I'm not super familiar, but I did watch it. But recently, speculatively, it seems that a guarantor has been added, at least in Interactive Brokers filing of the DK Butterfly bonds, which still exist. Back when Hertz showed that a guarantor was added to their case, basically the reemergence of Hertz from Chapter 11 happened 2.5 months later. So if that means anything, that would mean, hey, in 2.5 months, geez, when would that be? I don't know, September 2026, that DK Butterfly would reemerge. What are the odds of this? I mean, let's just be like, well, one other piece of conversation as it relates to the odds is something that one of y'all said in my live stream where Ryan Cohen was saying, hey, if you followed me into a trade, you've done well. One of you guys said, what does that mean for BBBYQ? Now, another one of you said, look, if you followed him in, then you also would have followed him out, right? So it probably means nothing. But others y'all said, hey, well, some people did follow him in, and he certainly is aware that they didn't necessarily follow him out. And Cohen at the time didn't say anything or tweet anything or hint or meme. You know, like Roaring Kitty, right? When he went silent, he has done enough to communicate through coded messages the things that are most important to him, especially about communicating his intentions. He's been really clear he's not leaving the GME story. And that reassurance has helped GME investors, particularly anyone that followed him into GME. Cohen could have very easily been clearer publicly that he was done with BBBY when he sold, and he didn't. And he was even months and months later into the BBBYQ state. He's definitely aware. He scours the internet. He's definitely aware people are piling in, thinking he's going to make a comeback. He could have said something to dissuade retail investors from doing that, and he didn't. And he was even interviewed about it and basically said, I can't say anything about it. Like, which to me is another just general kind of signal that he was still involved. And yeah, there's plenty of speculation if you want to deep dive into that story. All that to say, what are the odds? I would say maybe 50%. Let me take this call real quick. Hello? Hey.
Hey, you got a couple of minutes, sir?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, so we got the sewer checked out. It is the motor. We had to pull the door panel. We disconnected the motor, and the motor's like burning hot.
Whew.
So when we disconnect the thing, we go to the two wires that go from the switch and make sure the switch is sending power and ground to the motor, which it is. I looked everywhere for the motor. Nobody has it. The only place that can get it is Uber. But it's harder today. Won't be here till Wednesday.
That's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna order it, sir. Well, let me give you the numbers before I go order it. The motor comes all together with the regulator and everything. It's $319.62.
Great.
And the taxes are $20. It's an hour and a half labor, which is $240. Looking at right at $600.
Okay, I appreciate the call. Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna get it ordered. I'm gonna call him back and order it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. Sorry about that, guys. Got to get my people. Campbell says extra $20. Sheesh. That's funny. 600 womp womp. Yeah, y'all heard that? Trying to get a motor replaced on my Subaru. And my guy wants to make sure I still want to do it. Not my engine, just my window motor. So I would say 50% odds. I would say 50% odds that this happens. That's about where I'm at personally. Now, what is the impact? It's really like, who knows? I mean, let's just humor me. Say BBBYQ is resurrected by Ryan Cohen. Jeez. And merged into GME. What impact would that have on the stock? Shorts, closing, NOL value. Holy crap, narrative shock. Maybe share recall. NOLs. So basically, if it's just NOLs, we're pretty much talking about like $1 a share, pretty much. And in this like equity, yeah, what considerate? Geez, I've never even researched this stuff because it's not really my passion in life, but it is a potential catalyst for GME. So here we are doing a little bit of brief research together. Why does this help? They're saying basically if BBBYQ short exposure is significant, then it could cause a squeeze, pretty much. But they also said BBBY equity holders receive meaningful consideration. And I don't understand why that would help GameStop. Help GME squeeze. How would that equity consideration be valued, and how would that impact GME? Any thoughts here? I know some of y'all guys saying it will not happen, don't think it's happening, yada yada. That's great. You don't have to think it will happen. And I'm not trying to convince you it will happen. I'm trying to understand how would it impact GameStop if it did happen. Jamie to the Moon says BBBYQ had the second most shorted shares back then, over 86%. So they could be given shares of GME. I think that would probably like piss off shareholders of GME though, right? I mean, unless it caused a GME squeeze, then GME shareholders would be fine with it. Right? But if, you know, and yeah, I mean, diluting over BBBYQ, I don't see why that's why that's helpful unless the shorts, it's really just a short squeeze play. Synthetic exposure. I mean, I guess like that's pretty much what would have to happen. Like if it's related to GME, pretty much the recovery for BBBYQ has to be in some denomination of shares of GME. So maybe it's $1 billion, maybe it's 500 million bucks worth of GME is issued to BBBYQ. In exchange, you get the NOLs and you capture a ton of short interest. And so, okay. Basically, let's just talk about NOLs. There's $1 here to plus. I mean, short squeeze, if we're talking short squeeze, you know, it just feels so kind of silly. Like I don't even want to put a number on it because it's obviously very, very speculative as a whole, but it could be a lot. It could be a lot. Evidence, NOL value, potential squeeze impact. Simple enough. QXT, maybe you're new to the live stream. You said 50% odds. Where is bro pulling these numbers? I just try to share why I got those numbers. So this odds number does not come from LLMs. I just showed y'all what came from LLMs, and it was actually not very helpful at all. Like, honestly, we kind of wasted a lot of time. All they pretty much said is, yeah, it could, like, any outstanding shorts would then be rolled into shorts of GME, and that could cause GME to squeeze. I mean, it's pretty simple. But I know some of you guys are like allergic to AI like it's the plague. Yet all of y'all have been Googling for freaking 20 years as if it's a helpful way to access information. Like, whatever, dude. XRT off reg show. This is it off reg show? Or are we talking about what if it gets off reg show? It is off, huh? What's up, Fox? Adam says, I prefer Jeremy's opinion over GPT. Mine as well. I also prefer my opinion. XRT, I'm not sure if today's data would be even updated yet. It was still there as of Friday. Okay, yeah, as a catalyst. So this is what I mean in the technicals explosion. What do we mean by that? XRT coming off reg show. What are some other things we want to add to this list here? We've got IV is at 30. IV around 30. We've got place right now, so it's not really on our grid, but GME is at a historically low level, right? They're trading at pretty much the bottom of their range. GME trading at bottom near lows. We'll just call it like that. Next quarterly OPEX is August. PMO crossing. Where is the PMO right now? You know, I mean, it's pretty much just what if the, I'm just going to call that, I'm just going to roll that into trading near lows, because to me, the price is price movement oscillator, right? PMO, I feel like, is just like basically what if we start to see, like the lower we compress in within trading ranges, the more potential explosive volatility is coming. The lower that IV is, the more room for upside there is. OPEX in August and XRT coming off reg show. Obviously, this happens in August. XRT is already on like day 57 would be today. And then historically, what does GameStop even do in August? You know, I don't even really know. Like August 21 was explosive. August 22 was explosive. Right? We were in 30 in June, hit 41 in August. We were in something like 43 in April, 40 in July, up to 55 in August in 2021. In 2023, August was a non-factor on its way down to doom. Obviously, in 2024, August in itself it definitely did trend higher. Like it did go up from its relative 2107 back up to 24. In 2025, August, we started at 22 and pretty much just traded flat. So, I mean, historically, Augusts are usually better than bad, right? Like June, July, usually not that great. August's usually pretty great. August's historically run up. all of this is pretty much, let's just hone in on August 2026 to beyond. Evidence chart. Any other technicals? Any other technicals y'all want to add to the conversation? How are we doing, by the way? Deep stretch it. Deep stretch. Thanks for the gift, said let him cook. I appreciate it. Ahmed says TS is just astrology. Mr. Unlimited says, look, Mr. Unlimited. Wait a minute. Are you Russell Wilson? Is Russell Wilson in the chat? Look for liquidity and volatility to emerge before the next big move. Yeah, so this is another. By the way, I got distracted earlier when some Grady said, what if eBay tries to acquire GameStop? What you made me think of, some Grady, was, hey, before an eBay acquisition happens, we will have to see the plan release and the confirmed financing. And what I thought you were asking, some Grady, is it possible that that in and of itself could be a catalyst for GME, right? When GameStop releases additional materials regarding its proposed acquisition of eBay any day now, which would include a detailed presentation of the strategic rationale and operational plan for the combined company, could that in and of itself be a catalyst? TBD. But this pretty much to me is like, this has to happen. I mean, I guess you could say to October. I don't know why it would take longer than this for this to happen, personally. Evidence is this filing right here. Odds that they release this plan, I mean, basically 100%. There's no reason why they wouldn't at least release a plan. Evidence, again, same. What is the impact? Probably nothing. Like, fundamentally, what does this mean? It just means you're closer to a vote, right? Being closer to a vote doesn't necessarily add any fundamental value, but it does confirm potentially some pricing. Like these terms, there could be some terms, like GameStop could just say like, hey, we're going to price it based on $22 a share of GME. Like GameStop could say that, and then eBay could vote on that. It doesn't have to be based on like the average daily trading price of GME on these calendar days. And if I was an eBay shareholder, I would much rather be voting on a fixed known dilution pricing, right? Just tell me what we're going to value a share of GME at so that then I can vote on if I think that's fair or not. Don't tell me an average daily pricing of yada yada, because I know if I'm an eBay shareholder, I know about all these catalysts, right? I know about all these things that could happen that could send your stock up and to the right. I know Roaring Kitty could come back, right? I don't want to agree to sell and then the pricing comes in way higher than what I thought it would be because the stock is squeezing. You know what I mean? So probably the plan release probably does confirm the pricing. And what is that worth? Well, right now we're at $21.52 a share. Let's just say that the pricing comes in at $22.50 a share. You know, like the pricing itself could add some value of GME shares for eBay payment, plus reducing uncertainty of dilution, plus confirming odds of acquisition. Why would the plan coming out potentially be a catalyst or add value? For those three reasons. The pricing could be higher than what the current share is priced at. This plan coming out reduces uncertainty, and it also increases the odds of success. So there you go. Here we are back in the technicals explosion. Any other technicals explosion? We're talking about volume. Volume is quite low still, right? I mean, it's just very low. Does TradingView even tell you the volume? Or they're not into that? You're gonna send me back to Robinhood to get a decent grid on volume. I mean, volume again, I feel like is, for what it's worth, I feel like is represented within IV. Borrow fees spiking could definitely happen. Yeah, like so more like borrow fees spiking, shares available shrinking. We'll call this the technicals explosion. Historically low IV and volume. And PMO. What are the odds that these things materialize, right? That these things materialize into something meaningful? What are the odds that XRT comes off reg show? What are the odds that volume and IV pick up? What are the odds that GameStop, starts to invert and start heading up? Will borrow fees start to rise? Will shares available start to shrink? Will August mean something? Let's just pin it into, I mean, XRT is going to come off reg show eventually. You know what I mean? Like some of these things will have to change eventually. So let's just say like 80% or 90%. Well, since I'm calling it an explosion, that makes me want to temper my descriptions here. The odds that GameStop is trading at higher than 21 is very high. Like at some point it will trade higher than 21. But what we're talking about is like, will volatility return to the stock? Like that's really what we're talking about. Will volatility return just based on the technicals? There's all these other reasons why volatility could return. just based on the technicals, will volatility return to the stock? I'd say 50%. What do y'all think? You think volatility, the odds that volatility comes in the near term is higher than that? I do think it's higher. I think it's higher mostly because in context of these other things, I think it's higher. But maybe let's just try to, I don't want to tie all of it together because we're going to tie all of it together in a minute. But the August bringing a, like is IV going to be at 45 at the end of August, for example? You know, like that's the types of questions that we're really thinking about right here. Fox Zig says we've had a number of volatility bumps in October the past couple of years. It's true. Yeah. August through December, generally speaking, is the more fun time to be a holder of GME. So we'll see. Let's just call this through December. Like at some point here, we're going to see something. Or I guess that's the question. Like, do we see something at some point in that window? I think 75%. That's what I think. On the technicals alone, the spring is compressed. I think some of that pressure has to release at some point this fall. And let's just shorten it to October again, because that's really the window of destiny that we're talking about here. And what is the impact if these technicals unwind? It's probably something like $4 to $6 a share. It doesn't mean that would hold. That's not fundamental value. Let's just call it 4 to 8. That doesn't mean fundamentally GameStop's worth $8 more because of the technicals. But it's just saying if the technicals release that pressure, and especially if these things happen like simultaneously, what does that do to the stock? Historically, you're talking about a 20 to 40% kind of bump. It could be more than that. Could be more than that. But if we were trading up at 28, like that would be like, that's generally the ceiling that we get smacked down at. You know what I mean? Like this is all just chart based. That's why a lot of y'all don't like technicals. And it's why it's not where I focus my time either. Because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? All of the evidence is just the chart, And that's why some of y'all like technicals. It's like, look, this is what the shares are worth at the end of the day. So just, become a fortune teller of the chart, and then boom. But if the chart is the reason why and the chart is the result, it's kind of like judge, jury, and executioner type vibes. You know what I mean? Which is why it's hard to rely on. Harmonized says, Cacophony says, I love a good release of pressure. Roaring Kitty comeback. Roaring Kitty comeback. Again, let's say it happens now or post eBay. Basically, it's either pre-eBay or post eBay. Evidence. I mean, emoji timeline, tweets, etc. He did say in his last live stream, which was like 2 years ago now, something like I'll see you guys on the next one. Now, does that mean that he comes back in this specific window? No, that just means like odds that he comes back, period. Odds that it, like, why would it be in this specific window? Just because that's when it's most helpful to GME. I don't think it's a coincidence that he came back in the window that he did in this April through June run-up. Like, that is the most violent run-up we've seen since 2021. And it's not because he came back. It's the convergence of several things all happening at the same time that he just took some oil and doused it on the flames. Right? Now, what are the odds that he does? This is why he would do it in this window. What are the odds that he does? What do you guys think? Y'all got any specific thoughts? I mean, the odds that he comes back at some point in the next two, basically like year and a half, Fox Zig says pretty low, like 10%. I was thinking like 25%. But I kind of want to say like I like could go a little higher, honestly. Honestly, if DK Butterfly's 50, I feel like Roaring Kitty should be 50. Now, why wouldn't he come back? He could feel like he's already given us everything we need, and he could feel like, hey, I just don't want to risk getting in trouble. So those are kind of the devil's advocates of why he wouldn't. Why would he? To me, his tweet storms and live stream communication, you could argue that that's all he wanted to say and now he's done. You could also argue that he's foreshadowing events to come that he will be a part of that have not yet happened yet. Like, it's almost more likely that he at some point involves himself again, maybe even formally with GameStop again. And the fear of getting in trouble, it's like he's already that ship has already sunk. They already would have, he already would be in trouble if he could be in trouble. But guess what? You can't get in trouble for buying a stock and posting memes. You can if you then sell the stock when it spikes, but he didn't. So why wouldn't he help GME again? I have no clue why he wouldn't. You know what I mean? Christopher says, I'm thinking greater than 50%. It's best time, and man, would it be fireworks. He wants to finish the story. Fox Egg said, I could see him doing a legendary Reddit update showing off his new GME Bay shares. Or maybe, how many warrants he's had locked up. Adam says RK will eventually sit on the board. I think that would be great. I think everyone would love that. That would just be really, honestly, like, obviously it would be memey and funny, but it would also just be like heartwarming. Like he's kind of like the crazy uncle prophet of the company. You know what I mean? And if your crazy uncle's a prophet, he should probably be on the board of your company. Like, that's all I'm saying. What's the impact, though, if he does? And again, another reason on the why am I kind of leaning higher is he holds, well, I guess we don't know for sure, but he indicated that he would continue to hold and not sell his GME position. I think his actions have consistently shown to be integrous. Like he's done what he has said he would do, and vice versa. He also posted that meme of the guy pointing in the mirror saying, you used to be a billionaire, which to me, it's like the money that he knows how much money his GameStop is worth. And it also frustrates, like he likes it when it gets higher. it frustrates him when it's lower. If he could do something that would increase his net worth, why wouldn't he do it? Like, to me, the devil's advocate is more on why wouldn't he than why would he? And I'm going to call this 55% to express that. It's more likely that someone would do something that's in their financial best interest to do. Just plain and simple. Impact. This is another one that's, again, kind of similar to BBBY. There was a moment, a flash moment. Do any of y'all remember this in the chat? There was this flash moment after hours where, like, people, oh, he got hacked. He got hacked by his brother or something and posted some random meme coin, which wasn't him. And GME after hours immediately spiked something like $5 a share. Right? Do y'all remember this? And do you remember it spiked and crashed like in the moment? So you can't even see it on the chart. Even on the daily back then, you couldn't see it. Or on the weekly back then, you couldn't see it. And maybe even on the daily. I don't know if the candle even held for a solid candle. All that to say, what's it worth in terms of retail, hype, mania, etc. if he comes back? I mean, at least $4 a share, if not pretty much like 10 plus. Oh, that hack also happened when GameStop dropped the proxy for the 2.5 billion share approval. Yeah, so interesting. I mean, we'll just call this, again, similar to the DK Butterfly. This is like, at least for a moment, you will see a spike. Someone mentioned like, hey, algos are ready to slam the buy button whenever he does any public tweet or post. That's true. Like they will. Some of y'all might think, oh, they're ready to slam the sell button. It's like, no, they're really ready to, they're going to make money on both ways, both sides of the volatility. If he tweets, it's instant algo buying. And then at some point, they will also short sell if they want to be short, but they want to make money. You know what I mean? The DJ SARS says, but 55% in that time frame. Can you elaborate on that? He used to foresee things, not react to what's been found by others. 2 years of silence. 55% in this time frame seems like hopium, or seems like hope. I mean, I'm saying like there's an 11-month window here. So I'm saying 55% over the next year that he tweets. Might like, or does a live stream, or like makes a post on Reddit updating his position. And again, the reason why I think it would be in this time frame is simply because that's when it would be most helpful to GameStop. This is when GameStop is going to have eBay either acquired or not. So why would you wait? Again, if you hold GameStop, it's in your best financial interest to ensure its value is as high as possible. He said, oh, I thought they were the same year. My bad. Yeah, I could split these odds, but it just comes, it's the same as the like eBay odds, pretty much 70-20, but in this case, it would be 70-30. Oh, the share buyback? Yeah. 70 is a little probably aggressive though. Obviously, we want this to only add to 55 total. So I would pretty much be like 35% chance that he comes back in the next 3 months, 20% chance that he comes back over the next year, and then a 45% chance that he doesn't come back, at least not in this specific year. Now, what's the evidence that this is the type of impact that would happen? It's basically the chart. That's what it's done in the past. That is looking pretty stinking nice. And I feel like I might still be forgetting something. And I really wonder what it could be. Is it at the very end of this video? Can't even hear this. I'll have to just sort through it another day and add after the fact if there are any catalysts I'm forgetting. But here's what's interesting, right? Look at the time frame here. The buyback, materiality, Q2 earnings, Japan carry trade, eBay plan release, eBay acquisition, S&P 500 inclusion, convertible warrants, Q3 earnings and Q4 earnings, even DK Butterfly most likely happens. In this window. Most likely it does. Technicals most likely has some type of catalyst in this window. Where exactly? Maybe before the earnings even comes out. It's pretty wild. eBay plan will be released. We know that. And then you got Q3 and Q4 earnings. And of course, the X factor being Roaring Kitty comeback. Overall, what are we talking about here? We're talking about 6 plus, let's just take the middle range here, plus 2, plus 2.5, plus 3, plus 1, plus 13, plus, we'll just call DK Butterfly 1 and Roaring Kitty 4, plus 4, plus 7, plus 3, plus 2, plus 2. In the next 11 months, and I guess we could add one more plus 2 for Q1 numbers, since that will also happen in June. Q1 earnings in June of 2027. We are talking about $58.50 per share of incremental increase to GameStop. $58.50 of added increase, and that does not include shorts closing. That does not include a short squeeze. All of these like plus, I didn't add any of that in there. It's a little bit of technicals momentum, right? $4 of that $58, $4 of that is Roaring Kitty related technicals. $1 of that is associated with DK Butterfly. Okay, great. Take that out. Man, are we only going to go up by $53.50 over the next 3 months? Is that it? I mean, geez. It's a great point. DJ Star says, and it also does not include what eBay and GME synergies can achieve. I mean, that's honestly a great point in terms of like future catalysts, like eBay plus GME earnings growth. We'll just say Q2 and beyond. We'll say like Q2 is when like the merge actually takes place. And of course, the continued growth and performance of GameStop as well. Overall, I don't think it's a coincidence that between the warrants, convertibles, which honestly, I kind of want to put these like above DK Butterfly, or maybe below. Between the warrants and convertibles, and we'll go ahead and move this down just so, I mean, I'll just leave it there. It's another potential catalyst. The eBay acquisition, the share buyback, Power Pack's materiality and earnings, as well as the situation with the technicals and the situation with the Japan carry trade. I don't really see how GameStop trades flat for 3 more months. It sure seems like some value is about to get added to GME. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Man, I know in that I'm just gonna have to watch this. I'm gonna watch this video later and find my 5 catalysts. I'm pretty sure I already have them represented. I know the buyback was one. I know DK Butterfly and Roaring Kitty were the flyer ones. I know those were in there. Buyback. I know that Q2 was one, and I think I included Power Packs with that. And then, yeah, the potential of an eBay acquisition happening was number 5. So, yeah, they are represented. But altogether, we also have a totally compressed technicals and a totally out of whack Japan carry trade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 events that almost definitely will happen over the next 3 months. Almost definitely these will happen. Maybe Japan's not related to GME, but something's happening with Japan over the next 3 months. 6. We're talking 6. And that does not include, right? 1, 2, 3. Let me make this a little smaller now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are like in the bag. They are happening. What should we do? Then you have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that really could happen. Oh, don't be doing that to me. I mean, these really could happen. You know what I mean? S&P 500 inclusion, warrants in the money, convertibles in the money, Roaring Kitty comeback, DK Butterfly reemergence, and eBay is a vote actually takes place. eBay is actually acquired. All of those things could really happen in the next 3 months. And I think all of those will happen in the next 11 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 catalysts that will probably happen soon. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say probably for DK Butterfly and Roaring Kitty, but 6 that will potentially happen soon, 4 that will almost surely happen within the next year, another 6 that almost definitely are happening over the next 3 months. So when freaking Ryan Cohen is doing an interview and they're making fun of GameStop to him, and he just leans in and he just says, "We'll see what happens, Ed. We'll see what happens." I mean, is it hard to envision why? You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. So there you go, a brand new tab on the Budget for Life GameStop spreadsheet, which you have access to as a friend of the channel. $58 a share. I mean, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. I mean, that's a quadruple. That's a quadruple. And if we quadruple, do you think we're only going to quadruple? You know what I mean? Like, there's all these plus signs going on. all these things in their own right could be more than what I've expressed them as. And all of them but all of them could be a lot more. And they were expressed pretty conservatively. If you've watched this whole stream, or if you're watching this later after the fact, shoot, we're 2 hours and 23 minutes into this thing. And I'm like, I might not have even covered all the catalysts. It's wild. It's wild. Which is all to say, July, it's the month of destiny in the quarter of destiny, because this quarter gets reported in September of 2026. And between now through the end of September, really, we have as many as 12 separate, incredibly valuable catalysts for GME. How many of them are technical related? Japan, obviously technicals explosion. DK Butterfly and Roaring Kitty are like very much technicals. How much of them are like purely fundamental? We've got 4 technicals. We've got Q2 earnings, Power Packs materiality, eBay plan, and eBay acquisition. We've got 4 purely fundamental, 4 that are purely technical. And then you've got 4 probably here that are like pseudo that are tweeners. that are structural, you could say. The share buyback, convertibles and warrants, S&P 500 inclusion. Those are like structural supply and demand as it relates to the shares and the liquidity of GME, you've got 4 structural catalysts, 4 fundamental catalysts, and 4 technical catalysts, all that could take place in this window of destiny. So if you are looking at this chart today and you're crying yourself to sleep, just as soon as I log off, just play this thing back and listen to it again. Like, how can you not be scooping up shares right now? Scooping them up. You like shares, you like warrants. I like mostly shares, but I do have some warrants. Ooh, and if this could just hold off a little bit for me, guys, if this could just hold off a little bit more, I've got some PSA cards that I've cashed out of that I'm waiting, that I should get paid for in the next week or so. I've got that the phone call I took earlier, which I wouldn't have taken it. He called me earlier during my stream and I ignored it. And then he called me a second time and I was like, oh, let me go ahead and answer it. And that is a car that I'm selling in the next week. We're trying to sell that so that I can put even more into GME securities. Okay, between those cards and that car, that should be close to, I mean, more than 15K that I can throw into the pot. So personally, I'm very bullish, of course. But again, play back the video. Am I being insanely bullish in the way that I contextualize what's actually happening? It can turn into just a web of spaghetti in your brain when you try to think about all these things independently. But when you actually write them down, look at it separately, and actually do the math, it's like, yeah, this is genuine value that's being created. Not all of these events will necessarily happen, but all of them could happen, and they could happen within the same couple weeks. And if they do, that only creates that much more of a cascading effect in terms of the melt up that could happen on GME and GME warrants. Hazel says, you're going to be rich. Hey, that's for all of you guys. That's for all of you guys. Adam said, did I liquidate my Pokemon collection? So in the spirit of, I don't know, in the spirit of GME, I have only a couple of these more have been sold. I'm trying to hang on to these for as long as I can, but I do deep down, I really kind of do want to just sell them all. And that would be another probably 10, 11K I could throw in, but then I would be realizing, I'd be realizing a chunk of losses. And then that would be like bad PR for GME, because I made some bad purchases on the cards from their marketplace. As I went on, I got a little bit better. Like some of these are more in the money, but I actually prefer my power packs. My power packs, the ones I've sold, altogether, I have a $37 gain, which is sweet. But I don't want to just lock in, you know, $2,000 of losses. So I'm trying to wait, trying to let them appreciate a little bit. But if GME gets too low for too long, I'm cashing out. I'm cashing out for sure. Joe says, why not buy call options? I'm not your financial advisor, Joe. Unless I am, in which case, let me know what your real name is. But I could answer that question to you specifically if I knew your specific situation. I don't buy call options. Well, it's not like I never have bought call options, but I've lost more than I've gained buying call options. So I'm not really a big proponent of call options. And the reality is, as it relates to the catalysts, a lot of these will happen over the next 3 months. None of these things, right? Japan carry trade, the technicals, Q2 earnings, power packs, share buybacks, plan release. None of these things are the most important things. the most important things are really eBay actually getting acquired is by far the most important. And then convertibles and warrants being in the money and S&P 500 inclusion happening are probably structurally the next most important. And those might not happen in the next 3 months. Now, buying warrants is kind of nice because if this doesn't happen in the next 3 months, like if this fundamental value is not realized before October, they can extend the warrants, right? That's why the warrants in the money is October 2026 or October 2027. Well, the difference between 12 months on a call option is massive. And if you wanted to buy 2027 32 strike calls, you would actually be paying more than what you're paying for a warrant right now. So if you think if you think it's going to take another year and you think the warrants are going to get extended, the warrants are actually a better deal. And that doesn't even mention the added value, which is, hey, you can trade warrants pre-market and after hours. Warrants themselves are a security with a finite liquidity, and therefore they could squeeze independently of shares of GME. Right, there are protections that you have with warrants that you don't with calls, but the most important is that they're extendable as it relates to what type of risk you're taking on. Either way, warrants or calls, you're taking on a huge amount of risk. So I would not advise anyone to YOLO money they can't afford to lose into an extremely risky play, certainly not a substantial portion of those dollars. I'm much more heavily in shares, but I am getting a little bit greedy on the warrants right now because I do think that Ryan Cohen will keep his insinuated word that he made on Bloomberg last week or 2 weeks ago. I do not think he will let them expire worthless, but buying a 32 strike call that expires this October is very, very much higher level of risk, in my opinion. Some Grady says, what's the deadline for GameStop to extend the warrants? Yeah, the literal deadline, as Fox Zig said, is October 30th. Logistically, it's probably October 1st. And really maybe more like September 15th. Like they're not going to want to get close to October 30th. Because if they wait that long, these warrants are going to go down and down and down. They're going to be worth 150, 120, 90 cents, 70 cents. Like a lot of retailers are going to sell their warrants. It's going to look horrible if they wait that long to extend. So I think more likely, like by the end of August, beginning of September, we will see either some price appreciation, like literally over the next 5 weeks. I think we'll see some appreciation that adds some level of confidence to the pricing of the warrants. And hopefully by mid-September, basically like when this earnings report comes out, hopefully that's enough added value to basically secure the current warrant timing. But if this comes out and a week later we're not at 32, I think they get extended then. I don't think they're waiting a few more weeks. That's me personally. I don't know the future. I'm not Roaring Kitty. He's the only fortune seer. Future seer, fortune teller. Okay. I'm going to wrap this up. I've enjoyed talking Catalyst today. If you've enjoyed it, if you like this tab, if you think it's helpful, we'll update this, right? We'll kind of reevaluate as substantial windows and evidence begins to build. So let me know in the comments anytime you feel like, hey, there's a Catalyst that deserves a shout out on the spreadsheet. But if you appreciate it, hey, let me know. Drop a sub if you're crazy, or, oh, what's up? Some of you guys subscribed during this live stream. I appreciate that. Feel free to join. I appreciate all you that do. I appreciate all you that don't as well. Don't feel pressure. I'm just trying to share my appreciation. I will actually. I've opened the can of worms. I don't want to create a secret society, right? But I've opened the can of worms of, hey, as a thank you for fans of the channel, occasionally making a members only video. It will not be GameStop content specifically. It won't be like there's something important you need to know about GameStop and I'm only going to let members of the channel see it. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like I might just like tell a random story for my life. You know, just like general, just fun additional content that is not like you shouldn't feel a ton of FOMO about it if you're not a member. But if you are a member and you like listening to my voice for whatever reason, you want to hear what my thoughts on X, Y, or Z, or maybe it's somehow tangentially, like personally, like how I traded GameStop in 2022, or like what got me involved in the first place with DK Butterfly, or like what are other trades I've made, or what's it like to be an advisor, or I don't know, just random stuff. Not frequently. I'm not going to make those that often, but I want to make sure that fans of the channel are getting something out of it beyond just, hey, I guess I get a badge by my name. Like I want to. That was crazy. I sounded like I was from Wisconsin. Did y'all hear that? that was crazy. I got a badge. Not just I got a badge. Do Wisconsin people talk like that? I don't know. Wisconsinites. So be on the lookout if you want to ever do that. There might be some members only stuff that's like, again, not excluding you from GameStop education. My goal is for the education, the information to be as public and as free as possible, and to just say thanks to those who support the channel financially, because that does lead to DRS Book GME shares. That also leads to the channel algorithm, whatever, getting better, favor from YouTube, getting pushed out to more people. So I just want to make sure I'm saying thanks. Adam says, Jeremy, you do whatever is right for you and your Budget for Life project. Thanks, Adam. I do appreciate it. But yeah, so like basically if I ever have an itch to make a video that's really not like, I know y'all don't want to watch, like most people don't want to watch, like back, I don't know, like back in the day, I tried to make a couple videos that were like, hey, I don't know, like, oh, is Under Armour a good stock to buy? And y'all are just being savage and just downvoting me like crazy. I'm like, well, dang, that really like hurts my channel, you know, which I appreciate the feedback, to be honest. But that's an example. Oh, this one, like I was featured on the front page of The Guardian. Like those might be things that I'd say, hey, that's not really going to help my YouTube channel. Like that's not going to help my algorithm, because that's not going to be content that the GameStop audience necessarily wants to hear. So I'll just make it a private or a member only. So then if anyone wants to, they can, but it's not like, again, it's not stuff that you would hopefully feel offended, unquote, or whatever. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense. If you have any different thoughts or questions on it, let me know. Josh Allen says, what up, homie? What up, Josh Allen? He's back. He's back. In 5 weeks, he's back for real. At Houston, baby. Go Texans. We're going to destroy you just like we did last year and just like we did the year before that, dog. Let's go, baby. All right. All right. Sorry, Josh Allen. That's all I got for y'all today. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.